We have a ton of big news about the fourth stimulus check, Social Security benefits, SSI and SSDI payments. Continue watching this video to never miss out on this. It has been confirmed that there are still billions of dollars in stimulus money available by Americans this year. Lawmakers in Congress are urging that everybody apply to receive additional crisis aid from these relief payments. Anywhere between $500 and $1,500 will hit most residents of New Mexico's bank accounts over the next 5 months. The free money from the state government comes after New Mexico lawmakers passed 2 separate economic aid packages this year, amid record oil revenues and rising cost of living, including high gas prices. The Special Sessions House Bill 2 lays out either $500 or $100 payments, $1,000 payments for New Mexico residents that will be split into 2 parts. How much you will get, though, depends on your tax filing status. And heads of households, surviving spouses, married individuals filing joint returns will receive a total of about $1,000. Individual filers and married individuals filing taxes separately will get a total of $500. Again, folks, those payments will be split into 2 parts. The first payment is supposed to come as soon as possible. The legislation formally outlines its delivery as no later than June 30th, 2022. Folks, joint filers will receive $500 for the first payment, single filers will receive $250 for the first payment, and the second payment of the 2-part rebate will come sometime in the month of August. As with the first payment, how much you get depends on filing status. Joint filers will get $500 and individual filers will get $250. State lawmakers decide to include any income limits in House Bill 2, meaning the state will provide cash payouts to people regardless of how much money they make. If you don't make enough money to file taxes, you can still get some cash from the state. House Bill 2 provides a so-called relief payment to fill in the gaps. There's also an application process and a limited amount of cash that the government will send out. Relief payments for non-tax filers are on a first-come, first-served basis, and they will only last until a $20 million fund is exhausted. Applicants will be required to give a Social Security number or individual identification number to the state for proof of identification. The relief payment, folks, will be the same size as a 2-part rebate. $1,000 will go to households of married couples or single individuals with 1 or more dependents. For households of single individuals without dependents, the payment is $500. To get a relief payment, if you meet the requirements, you have to fill out an application. And the department is planning on announcing the application process within the next few weeks.
Back to fundamentals, which is great companies, but profitable growth. There's got to be a way to get to profitability and cash flow, something that Carl has been focused on all the time. And so, for the most part, we're seeing our portfolios holding up very well. Our first quarter, we're seeing real resilience in our portfolio, and our platform continues to pivot and look for opportunities. So I view this as a healthy correction. Clearly, it's going to take time to play out, but these types of corrections create opportunities as well.
They do, and no real concerns. I mean, listen, it's not as though we haven't seen headwinds, but this is a somewhat unique moment here with the Fed. I mean, the balance sheet at $9 trillion coming down, ready to raise rates dramatically for what may be an extended period of time. Inflation at all-time highs, supply chain problems, war in Ukraine,
right.
China lockdown. I don't know. There's a lot of crosscurrents.
There's a lot going on. Yeah, we have to be mindful of all those issues. Clearly, we're being very thoughtful, mindful as we're navigating through this environment. But let me just give you a snapshot of at least what we're seeing through our portfolio companies. It might be helpful. As of the first quarter, our companies, by and large, growth was still pretty strong and margins were still expanding. So there is more resilience in this economy than perhaps people give credit for. Now, clearly, all these issues are going on, and clearly we're going to have to keep working with our companies through. But these types of conditions are also creating opportunity because of the trends that are being set up for the future. Things like energy transition, the heightened state of volatility, clearly the decoupling and the regionalization that's going on in the world. So I take a step back and with my leadership team continually think about how do we position Carlyle, where are we going to try to find opportunities that play into those types of trends.
I want to talk to you a bit about that repositioning you mentioned in terms of credit, but to stay on PE for a moment,
Sure.
I mean, does an environment like this prevent exits that otherwise might have happened? Do funds just basically stay there for longer? Is that something your investor base has got to get accustomed to?
Yeah, I think M&A activity, when these types of disruptions and corrections start happening, both buyers and sellers, they take a pause. I think you saw that in the first quarter, 6 to 8 week period of time when both buyers and sellers took a pause to recalibrate valuations. But I think as confidence comes back,
St. Louis, and I thank you, Madam Chair, for convening this timely hearing. Electrifying the Postal Service fleet is an urgent priority for environmental justice communities, including those in St. Louis. We have a unique opportunity to reduce tailpipe emissions and decrease cumulative pollution burdens that disproportionately harm Black, Brown, and Indigenous communities on the front lines of the climate crisis. The Postal Service's current procurement plan to continue buying gasoline vehicles is in direct conflict with the agency's policy to, quote, emphasize environmental issues and alternatives and protect, restore, and enhance the quality of the human environment, end quote. It is also not in line with the policy to, quote, use the NEPA process to assess reasonable environmental alternatives to propose actions in order to avoid or minimize adverse effects, end quote. I am extremely troubled by the next generation delivery vehicle proposed plan, which doubles down on decades of pollution. Ms. Stevens, is it correct that the Postal Service refused to explore specific environmental justice mitigation options in an expanded environmental impact statement?
I would say that the environmental impact statement supplement that was requested was not justified. Part of that process demands the introduction of new information that was not considered as part of the formal draft or final environmental impact assessment process. There were no substantive issues brought forward through that process that had not previously been addressed, considered, introduced, or addressed in the Postal Service's final environmental impact statement. It just didn't rise to the level that is required to consider a supplemental EIS.
Okay, so the fact that I was quoting the Postal Service's response to the EPA comments in the NGDV final environmental impact statement.
It's my pleasure to call today's hearing to order on the nomination of the Honorable Christy Goldsmith Romero, Kristen Johnson, Summer Mersinger, and Caroline Pham to serve as commissioners of the Commodities Futures Trading Commission. Welcome to the nominees, and I have to say, to begin, I can't think of a better way to start Women's History Month, celebrating these strong, competent women. It's a pleasure to have all of you here today and to have your families with you. The CFTC has gone far too long without its full complement of commissioners. Today's hearing for 2 Democrats and 2 Republicans is an important step toward getting this financial watchdog back to its full capacity. It's critical that we confirm these nominees without delay. The invasion of Ukraine has led to price volatility in wheat,